Ron from Fantasy Flow. We're doing week 8 trade targets. These are guys that some of them are moonshots. They're guys that are a little bit more difficult to get, very valued. It might be tough to get them. Some of them are very realistic, bro. Dudes that you can actually grab that have a lot of upside, man. So stay tuned for some of those later names. And listen, if you're 0 and 7, if you're 1 and 6, it might be fucking Jover, man. You might want to turn this video off, go to one of my other videos. I have another video on my channel called How to Cope with Being Bad at Fantasy. So, so go check that one out. But for everyone else, dude, let's hop into this video. And we're starting this with Malik Nabers. So Malik Nabers, I know, dude, I know he's ranked like in the top 5 rest of the season by most people in the industry, but there's a little bit of opportunity here. So we know how Malik Nabers started. Wide receiver 2 through 4 weeks. He was great, gets the concussion, he's out 2 weeks. Comes back in a I would say a neutral game or a neutral matchup against Philadelphia, lays a dud. Gets 8 targets, 4 of them were very bad and uncatchable hospital ball type shit. 4 for 41, doesn't do shit. Fucking concerning thing is that the Giants do lose their left tackle. So, like, Daniel Jones was just on his ass the entire afternoon. It was brutal to watch. He could not find any time. Malik Nabers is being played on the outside. So, a lot of his routes take a lot of time to develop, more downfield type stuff, which typically you'd like if it's like a creative offense that can get Daniel Jones out of the pocket. They can wait for these routes to develop. But at the moment, anytime Daniel Jones tries to step up into the pocket to, like, throw a dart or throw a ball to Malik Nabers in one of these deep routes, he gets fucking sacked, dude. He gets hammered by somebody. So it was brutal to watch. And I think there's some opportunity. I think people might have been waiting for him to come back. And then they see that in week 7, he's just ass, like can't even get the ball. Daniel Jones is complete dog water. Like, that's an opportunity, especially if the owner is in the dumps right now. If you can, I'll just preface this by saying this. You're going to have to spend up, right? You're going to have to give a dude who's like a top 15 wide receiver to get him, or like a top 15 running back. You might have to create like a package where you're maybe downgrading or you're upgrading at wide receiver, but you're downgrading at your running back slot, something like that, right? Like, obviously use your imagination. Let me know in the comments if you do have an open trade, if you're thinking about making a trade with Nabers. I'll be happy to help you guys out. But as I mentioned, man, he's still ranked 7th rest of the season. Now, there was a play that I want to show you guys that we want to look at together. It was a potential play where Malik Nabers could have had a bigger day. Now, let me just rewind it and make sure it doesn't explode your guys' ears. All right. So here's Malik Nabers lined up here on the bottom of the screen. He's going to basically run deep and flash to the right post. So, and then I don't know if you can keep your eyes on Malik Nabers, keep your eyes on Daniel Jones. Steps up in the pocket, gets sacked. Malik Nabers streaking down. Now, this safety moves up to cover. It looks like Wandale, and then Malik Nabers sneaks behind him. He's fully open. If Daniel Jones can just climb the pocket, he hits him for a wide open touchdown. That's 13 fantasy points right there, or 12 fantasy points. Add that to his tally. You're talking about a 20 fantasy point day, right? You're feeling real good about that. So Malik Nabers is somebody that I'd be trying to target, man. It might be difficult to get him, but he is somebody that I really want on my team. You want these league winner type players. The guys, the first 4 players I'm going to list for you guys are like league winners. These are dudes that if you can get them, you want them on your team, because these are dudes who are going to be winning championships. Last season, fantasy football champions, I think like 40% of teams had Christian McCaffrey on them. So, like, those are the dudes who win championships. It's not a roster full of a bunch of decent players. It's usually rosters who have like those dudes, right? Those Austin Ecklers from like 2 years ago, the Christian McCaffreys last year. So Devontae Adams last year, also absolute beast, had like 30 fantasy points in the championship week. I had McCaffrey and Devontae and lost in one of my leagues. Fucking depressing. Next dude is Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed, simple thesis. Week 1 pops the fuck off, but on low volume. It was a very weird week. So he only has one top 12 finish. It was in week 1. But I saw this on another podcast. Basically, the field was slippery as shit in Brazil. It was a very strange field. Nobody can really get any footing. People were slipping all over the place. On his long touchdown that he scored in week 1, I think he also had a rushing touchdown. I don't know why you can't see that on Sleeper, but on his long touchdown, he gets like a simple 15-yard pass and then just like turns around, and then defender slips and he's wide open. And he gets like a 60-yard touchdown from that. So take that, discern from that what you will. If you want to exclude that from his performance, the problem with him is that he's got very low touches. He's kind of like the opposite of Malik Nabers. He doesn't get a lot of volume on this offense, but he is like this gadget player, this dude that they love using around the line of scrimmage. They love using him in the red zone. So Jayden Reed is a very, very, very valuable player for this offense. It's just a small piece of a big pie, if that makes sense. So I think Jordan Love's one of those last gunslingers. The Packers offense is a, as I mentioned, it's an offense you want pieces of. This was a tweet from Jacob Gibbs, one of the GOATs. This dude makes an appearance on all my videos. Uh, if you remove week one, these are Jayden Reed's 2024 stats. 12.7 points per game. That puts him at wide receiver 26. Not great, Bob. 20.5% targets per route run, 37th out of 83 qualified wide receivers. 7.1% first downs per route run, wide receiver 43. And then 2.01 yards per route run, wide receiver 22. He is not doing very good statistically if you were to remove week one. Now, a lot of people say, why would you remove week one? That was a week in which Jordan Love was there. If you want to account for the fact that the field was shit and it was a fluky game, it was an opening week or opening game in Brazil, you be the judge of that. I'll let you guys determine that, but he is still a buy low. This is a missed deep shot from last week. This wouldn't have been a crazy boost to his fantasy statistics, but it would have been a nice little boost just through his hands. I don't know what happens here. That would have been like another, 5 or 6 fantasy points right there. Maybe he busted for a touchdown. I don't know if he didn't have to die for it, but go after Jayden Reed. Next little bucket of players is Dolphins players. Now, Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 43 on the season. Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver 68. Raheem Mostert, running back 70. Achane, running back 27. Tua Tagovailoa is back. He's going to be playing this week, most likely, like 99% chance. Things were not pretty even with Tua. In week one, they really struggled against the Jags. Week two, they played against the Bills, where they got fucking absolutely trounced. They got waterboarded by them. The Bills defense looked like it was the top defense in the NFL. Since then, the Bills defense has kind of stuttered. They got some injuries. They haven't been playing as well. They've been getting trounced on the run. They can't really defend the run very well. So what does that mean? Does that mean Tua's going to come back and it's going to be all roses again? I think not. I think they're still going to struggle. I think we saw some red flags early in the season. Even with Tua back, I think the offense as a whole won't be that great, but they'll be considerably better. Now, the one dude I will say who is still a little bit too expensive for what I think the offense will look like is Tyreek Hill. I think he's being valued as like a top 5 wide receiver now moving forward, where I don't know if he's going to fulfill that. I know in week one he looked great, scored like 25 fantasy points, but we saw some problems, dude, with the Dolphins, right? So I think Jaylen Waddle, very affordable. You can grab him. Raheem Mostert, you can maybe get him as like an add-on on a trade. Achane is, I think, the biggest beneficiary of Tua coming back. I mean, when when Tua was actually there playing for those first 2 weeks, Achane was a top 5 running back. So I think he's the biggest beneficiary. Obviously, Waddle and Tyreek Hill will be playable, so they're also big beneficiaries, but Achane's like that league winner type dude. Tyreek Hill too, but I just think he's too expensive. So these 3 pieces are guys that I try to get if you still can. And let's move on. Let's try to power through this. My fucking voice is already dry as shit. CeeDee Lamb. This one's tough, but he has a very similar season than last year. Cowboys got absolutely trounced before the bye week. 47-9 loss. They had to do a reset, bro. They needed that bye week very bad. He had 14 targets, only went 7 for 89. Didn't get in the end zone. He hasn't been getting into the end zone very much. Only has 2 touchdowns on the season, but Ron Stewart, the actual GOAT, welcome to the basement. I'm Ron. He had this tweet where he basically compared CeeDee Lamb last year to this year. Very similar. So before the bye, 14.9 points per game, putting him at wide receiver 21. After the bye, obviously goes insane, goes absolutely diabolical. 28.5 points per game, putting him at the wide receiver 1. This year, a very similar little storyline, right? 15.4 points per game before the bye, wide receiver 16. What is he going to do now? Now they get the bye week. Now it's a little bit different. Their schedule is much more difficult, especially weeks 8 through 11. So check this out. San Francisco, Atlanta, Philly, Houston. Those are 4 pretty, I would say, tough matchups. I mean, San Francisco, that pass rush. Atlanta, you got AJ Terrell probably shadowing. Houston, just a solid defense in general, but that's probably a nice little shootout game. So Philadelphia, obviously, they have a Quentin Johnson, Big Q, I think they call him. He's actually been doing really well for them. He's a nice little cover corner for them. So I just think CeeDee Lamb, if he can repeat what he did last season after the bye, he's not going to be cheaper than he is right now. But maybe the current CeeDee Lamb owner is also thinking the same thing. I tried to trade for Lamb. I sent Cooper Cup and Rico Dowdle, or Cooper Cup and something, got declined. So you got to take your shot though. So moving on now, next players. So the next three players are going to be players that I think you could realistically get that aren't just like, moonshot players. So Jakobi Meyers is the first one. Simple thesis here. In the weeks Devontae Adams played, 3 targets, 5 targets, does jack fuck all. When Devontae Adams stops playing for them with a phantom hamstring injury, 9 targets, 7 for 62 and a touchdown, 10 targets, 5 for 49, 9 targets. So this dude's good for 9 or 10 targets a game without Devontae. And moving forward, Devontae Adams is gone, bro. I'm pretty sure their current wide receiver one, who's currently playing for them, I'm pretty sure he went to my middle school, bro. I've never heard these dudes' names. I don't think you can draw them if you were at a sketch artist. Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, Timmy Turner, doesn't matter, bro. Lakers in 5. So yeah, Joey Myers is going to be the alpha, the bona fide wide receiver one for this team moving forward. And the Raiders honestly aren't a bad team. I know that sounds kind of weird because they're like, I think 2-5, right? Or what are they? Yeah, 2-5, 2-6, 3-5. I don't know exactly, but they aren't terribly coached. Their offense isn't complete dog shit the way the Panthers might be with Bryce Young. So I think Jakobi Meyers has been forgotten, bro. I think he's good for 9 targets a game. I think you can get him included as like a throw in a trade if the dude is not like, if he hasn't been paying much attention and just Jakobi Meyers has just been getting him gooses on his bench. So maybe you can get him in like a 2-for-2 where he seems like kind of a throw in, but I think he has a lot of upside as like a top 25 wide receiver potentially, bro. I mean, top 30 is more realistic, probably like somewhere from like 22 to 30. But that's how I think about Jakobi Meyers. Next name is Chase Brown. I love Chase Brown, bro. I love him as a prospect. He's got speed, tempo, pace, grit, determination, though. And he's taking over this backfield, bro. He is the RB1 for the Bengals moving forward. 58% of the snaps with 63% in the red zone on the season. The past 2 games, he played all 7 red zone snaps. So I like that for him. It's valuable, touches that you do want to get. Zach Moss, only 6 attempts for 7 yards in week 7, 3 for 33 in the air, though. So you kind of hope that those those receptions go over to Chase Brown. You hope that he takes a little bit more of the ground game. You hope he continues getting the red zone stuff. You hope he becomes a little bit more efficient. Cleveland is a stout defense. They've always have been, so that could explain why. But this is an offense you want pieces of. This is just a solid, good offense that are going to be fighting to make the playoffs, which I think they actually could do it. I think they could make the playoffs moving forward. So you just want pieces of this team, and he's the RB1. I think, honestly, he's being valued as like a, rank 30th running back, like an RB30 on rest of season. I think he crushes that. I think he's like a top 20 running back for sure. It's just such a good offense, and he's going to continue taking more and more work of it. He's dynamic. He's going to start doing more in the air. Like at the moment, he's getting like 2 or 3, targets a game, and he's not turning them into a lot of yardage. He's going to start busting some of these, bro. As the season progresses, as defenses get more banged up, he's going to start busting some of these receptions into long touchdowns, bro, or long gains. So stick with him. Grab him if you can. I love Chase Brown moving forward. I think, if you can make like 2-for-2 trades where he's, the running back included, or the dude thinks he's upgrading at running back, but in your mind, you're actually upgrading. So that's how I'd approach him. Last guy is Rico Dowdle. I love Rico Dowdle. He's been on this list last week as well. Hopefully you grabbed him during the bye. Why, that's when his value maybe was the lowest, or the lowest that it probably will be the rest of the season. But yeah, man, weeks 4 and 5, lovely crescendo. He was getting hyped. He was getting a lot of work. Then we get blue balled in week 6. Only goes 5 for 25, 6 targets, which is good. 5 for 30 in the air. You love to see that. So that kind of salvaged his day. But bitch ass fucking Ezekiel Elliott, like a little baby, goes and cries to the coaches, cries to Jerry Jones about his lack of work, lack of involvement. So in week 6, they force feed him the ball. And look at his fucking output in week 6, bro. 8 for 17, no targets, no receptions, 1.7 fantasy points. He's Kentucky fried, bro. He's slow roasted, oven baked. He's a honey ham. He's a literal commercial break. When he's on the field, I do not want to be watching the game. He's done, dude. He's toast. And Coach McCarthy said as much. I mean, he can't obviously say that, but when asked about Rico Dowdle after that Detroit game, he definitely needs to touch the ball more without a doubt. And he has an 80% reliability rating. I think coming out of the bye week, I think Rico Dowdle is going to end up being the workhorse back for them against San Francisco, which is actually a plus matchup. You want to try to run against San Francisco. They have a strong pass rush, so you want to kind of do those zone runs against them. You want to do like quick passes, dump offs to your running back, screen passes. So I think he's going to have a big week this week. I mean, I'd be a little sketched out about starting him just because of that pass rush. It could get to Dak and make his life miserable. Could be a CeeDee Lamb game, as I mentioned earlier, but I think moving forward, it's going to be Rico Dowdle as the workhorse. So that's why he's somebody that I'd really try to go out and get. And yeah, I value him similar to Chase Brown, bro. Like, he's being valued as like RB 28, 29. I think he crushes that. I think him and Chase Brown probably both have similar upside. They can both end the season similarly. They're both on good offenses that are very capable of scoring a lot of points. And they've both kind of solidified themselves as the starter, in my opinion. So, hope you guys like this motherfucking video, dude. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, a like is the best way to show support. And while you're down there, bro, if you want to subscribe and see more of my stuff, if you're new here, I would super appreciate it. It is free for you, dude, and it helps me. I have a fucking subscriber goal of 10,000. Not really. I actually just made that number up. I don't have a subscriber goal, but whatever it is, you guys will help me get there. Hope you guys like this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.